This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Rennebu. Thank you, Google Translate. But before that, this video is brought to you by Darren Cassell and Jeff Scott. Thank you for being farm barons. Rennebu, and again, thank you to Google Translate, can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu. And as of the 1.0 release, this map is going to be available for PC players only. And the reason for that is this is a 16x map. If you're unfamiliar with what that means, basically means that you can fit 16 standard farm sim maps into the land area that this map contains. Now, not all of that land mass is available for agricultural farming. A good chunk of this map is going to be mountainous forest, and a portion of that can't be purchased either. But this is going to have more than enough actual arable land because of its large land size. Let's read a little bit of the description. The lush valley of Rennebu is inviting and encouraging all sorts of work: arable land, animal husbandry, and forestry. The map is based on a small part of the real-world location of Rennebu in Norway. The farms and farm buildings are real and placed at their real location. The playable area is, as I said, 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers. All production points and sell points are at their real-world location, with only a couple of changes to better suit gameplay. For example, the animal dealer is non-existent in real life, but it made sense to use this building as it is located at a central spot on the map. The bridge close to the animal dealer is about twice the size as the real bridge to make possible to cross with larger and wider equipment. The bakery is not a bakery per se in real life. It is a stone oven for which is rented out by the community, especially for busy holidays. Most of the buildings are placeables and with color selection, which will let you mix and match as you build your own farm on an empty lot. This is the first version of the map with enough to get you started and enjoy the scenery. In the future, there will be new buildings with other updates. So we are going to see more updates to this map during the Farm Sim 22 run. On the map, you will find 143 marked fields, 28 forestry sites, a river flowing through the valley that can be used to refill water. No collectibles yet, according to the map author. Production available is a sawmill, carpentry, grain mill, and bakery. Planned later productions include a dairy, spinnery, and tailor shop. The rest of the production types are not added to the map because they are no natural location for them, as they do not exist in real life. The map is your sandbox, and you can buy your own production site if you want to grow other crops than what is found in the area. Selling stations include an animal dealer, grocery store, grain mill, sawmill, and carpenter. There is a custom seasonal growth counter that has been adjusted to follow the region in real life. This map does have a required mod in the Buildings of Norway, which is by the same map or same author, and you will need that map or that file if you are going to play on this map. Without that, you're going to find that the buildings are not there. So we are going to use the mods that we typically use when we take a look at these maps. That is additional field info, additional game settings, field lease, field calculator, and precision farming. You see, we also have the Buildings of Norway mod activated, and we have the map located right there. I will say, if you load this map up in Farm Manager mode or start from scratch, the buildings will be laid out exactly how you're going to see them here in New Farmer mode, with the exception we do not own any land at the start, and we do not have any machinery at the start. So given the fact that this is a rather large map, it is going to take a little bit of time to load on in. You can see it now loading a whole bunch of assets from the required mod of Buildings of Norway. And here we are. So when we load in for the very first time, we're going to load right at the vehicle shop, which is somewhat center to the actual playable area on the map. So we have our vehicle shop here, and then our maintenance trigger. We're going to take a closer look at all of that later on in the video. Across the street, we have one of the possible player farms, but not the starting farm in new farmer mode. So let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA itself. We'll zoom on out. We'll see that we basically are playing in a mountainous valley. We've got fields up here to the northwest. The valley runs south, and then it takes a turn to the east and kind of runs southeast down along the southern portion of the map. You can see the entirety of the map here in this highlighted box. So as I said, a large portion of this map is mountainous forest. And in fact, only a portion of this mountainous area is actual forest. There is kind of a tree line right here to the south and the same general tree line to the north located right there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the buyable lands. You'll see that we start up by owning the main farm, which is located right here, as well as field 44. That is in itself 26.27 acres in size. Again, this is a 16x map, 8 kilometers wide by 8 kilometers tall, 4 standard maps wide, 4 standard maps tall is going to be an entire grid of 16 standard maps to fill within the borders. So while this doesn't look all that big when you zoom on out, it is quite large once you realize the overall size of the map. So we can buy this for $265,000. We also own a bit of forest up on top of the mountain, $326,000. We also own fields 102 and 103, which are 16.51 acres in size, $167,000. Now there are several other possible farms, and we're going to explore those as we go around the map. I'm not going to pull them all up now because there are quite a few scattered around, and I don't really want to miss any of them. Let's go ahead and take a look at the farmland lease screen. The farmland lease screen is going to show us, oh, hold it, let's go back here. We do have all of the standard crop types available to us here in Farm Sim 22. Now we'll go to farmland lease screen, and the farmland lease screen is going to show us all of the buyable farm lands. If any of those farmlands include fields, what fields they include, how big they are in hectares, and then how much those are going to cost. So you can see we own 3 farmlands at the start. 2 of them include fields. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other available farmlands, and I'll just slowly scroll through this list. And overall, you can see that the land is fairly affordable for the amount of agriculture that you're going to possibly have available to you. For example, farmland 33 is 10 hectares in size, fields 56, 57, 58, and 62, and it's only $252,000. I'm just going to go ahead and scroll through this list. If you want to go ahead and fast forward, you can, or you can slow down the gameplay and see how big any of these given areas are. Now we're taking a look at a lot of the forestry areas. And then let's go ahead and jump over here to our field calculator screen. And the field calculator screen is going to show us the actual size of any given field. So you can see, for example, field 44 is 5.78 hectares in size. That's one of the fields that we do own at the start. Then you can always cross-reference the field number with the farmland number in the farmland lease screen. And while we have a lot of land here on this map, being that it is a 16x map, the fields overall are not humongous, which is something that I really like to see when we start talking about really big maps. You're going to have a long drive from the northernmost field to the southernmost field, and it's going to feel like you're on a big map, but you're going to be able to play with medium and small equipment and actually feel as if you're going to be able to get things done. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what the custom soil map looks like when applied to the fields. As you can see, the bulk of the valley is going to be loamy sand or loam. And there is a little bit of silty clay and sandy loam over here to the west. kind of in an elevated area. And then the same over here in the south, we've got just a little bit of silty clay and sandy loam also in some elevated fields down here to the southeast. Now, if we take a look at our crop counter, you can see that we do have a somewhat adjusted crop counter compared to the standard base game crop counter. We also do not have any planting or harvest schedules for sugarcane or cotton or grapes on this particular map. If we take a look at our prices screen, you can see that we can indeed sell a bulk of our base game crops to at least one sell point, with the exception of sugar beets. So there's no sell point for sugar beets. Although if we do have sugar beets, we can cut them. And then if we have sugar beet cut, we can sell that at the animal dealer. We also do not have a sell point for cotton or sugarcane. We do have sell points for eggs, wool, and milk, as well as silage, hay, straw, and grass. And then when we get down here to our production elements, you'll see that we do not have the ability to sell fabric, but we do have the ability to sell clothing. So if we have sheep, which we do have sheep on the map, we can sell the wool. We can put down a spinnery and produce fabric, but we'll also need to put down a tailor in order to then refine that fabric into clothing. We do have the ability to pretty much sell every other base game production product that we do have in Farm Sim 22. We do have bulk lime buy points, and we have multiple stone areas with multiple stone crushers. Take a look at our starting fleet. We do start out with a decent fleet of machinery. All of it is new, none of it is leased. We do not have any animals at the start, even though the starting farm includes a cow barn, sheep barn, and a horse area. Now, I have loaded this map up at least 3 times so far. At no point in time have I had any contracts listed. So I'm going to have to say, either I am extremely, extremely unlucky, or there are going to be no contracts available on this map. We do own, at the start, the Bergton Old Sheep Barn, and it includes the ability to do a grass silage. So we do have a grass silage production facility at the start. It's going to take regular grass and convert it into silage. Let's go ahead and take a look at our starting fleet. We start out with the John Deere 6120M small tractor, as well as the Rigitrack SKE 50 electric tractor. We have the John Deere 7810 medium tractor. We have the Schaefer 23E front loader. We have a 2017 pickup truck. We have the Welger DK 115 trailer, a pair of those. We also have the Sino 4000 super cultivator. We have the Nordstein HK25 NS3030 seeder and power harrow. We have the FarmTech Super Sys 800 slurry spreader. We have the 4140L side mower. We have the Fanex 904 tedder. We have the Samez Z2 840H windrower. Then we have the Zelon CFS 2501 DO forage wagon. We have the Potager Impress 125F Pro round baler. Then we have the Kuvalin 7850C bale wrapper. We have the Anderson M160 forestry trailer for our logs. We have the 603R John Deere front loader. We have the round bale fork front loader from Albert. We have a pallet fork and bale spike also for a front loader. We've got a 900 kilogram John Deere front weight. And we have the Samez Jump 320 snowplow as part of our starting equipment. Are we going to get a lot of snow on this map? Well, it seems to imply we might, because we do have a snow plow. Now, if we take a look at our mods and DLCs, you see that there are no additional mods, vehicles, or equipment that are a part of this map. But we will notice when we get to taking a look at the build menu that there is a substantial amount of buildings that are tied to this map and or tied to the Buildings of Norway required mod. So with that, we're going to just quickly... Sorry. tab over to our starting farm. Let's go back up here and check out the PDA. You're going to see that the starting farm is located kind of in the center of the map, right before the bend in the main roads. So here we are at starting farm. We own, again, field 44, and then our forestry is up here on top of the hill. Our farmhouse, we do have a sleep trigger located right here, and this is part of the Buildings of Norway. If you do load this map up without the Buildings of Norway mod, likely all of this farm and many of the other farms are going to be completely barren because of the fact that you are missing that required mod. Up on the hill here, we have one of our sheds. Inside, we have some of our machinery. We do have a workshop trigger located right there. More of our machinery. And inside of this building, this is the sheep barn. Okay. And if we go inside of this, oh, look at that. We get close to it. We get this. Check out the door, nothing. And we get a little closer, and boom, there we have kind of an indicator that these doors do open. So inside of here, we have 2 dump triggers. This is the dump trigger for the silage production. Okay, we can come up here to our bin, and we can left click to show the conveyor, and then we can right or left click to hide the conveyor. But if we're going to do silage production, this is where we're going to dump our grass, and there is a fill trigger located right there. Let's go ahead and pull that up with F5. So there it is right there. So we can come in here with our trailer and then fill silage once we have produced some. Now we do have some horse food, some big bags of horse food. We do have some big round bales of straw, and then we have some square bales of hay. Also, with respect to getting started with our feeding, this is the food trigger for our sheep. Okay, so feeding our sheep is going to be done within the top part of this barn. Here we have the interactive trigger for our production. On the side, we have some big bags of seed to get us started. We also have some big bags of fertilizer and some pallets of seeds. Here we have our animal dealer for our animal dealer trigger for our sheep. 200 sheep in this particular building. And I will say that we do not get to see our sheep. So we do not have a nav mesh to actually show our sheep visually. They are basically, I guess, in the bottom portion of this building. Now, where does our wool spawn? I don't know, but I'm guessing our wool is going to spawn right here. This map is going to lose a little bit of points because a lot of our spawning triggers are not well indicated, but this is my best guess as to where the wool pallets are going to spawn for this particular building. We have our horse pasture located right here. 8 horses. Over a gate, and then we have our food trough for our horses. Let's go ahead and check our animal screen here. Now, while we're waiting, this is a byproduct of such a large map. Saves take a pretty good time frame in order to go through. So if you're game is just seeming like it's taking forever to save on this map. Well, that is because it is compared to standard sized maps. You see that our horses are not going to require any water, but they will require straw. I'm going to assume that the straw trigger is going to be also right here at this particular indicator. That seems to be the trend when I was looking at other buildings on this map. And then right here we have a horse building. So we have our milk trigger. We have our food and straw trigger. Then we have our animal dialogue box. 200 cows in this particular facility. We have a slurry storage tank located off to the side. And then we have some more of our starting machinery. And we also have some silage bales off in the distance. Now, way up on the top of the hillside there is where we are going to find our rigid track electric tractor and our log trailer. But before we leave from here, I do want to go through the build mode and take a look at a couple other things. So if we go back here to our cows, you're going to see that they're going to not require any water. They're just going to require food, and then they're going to also require straw, and they're going to produce milk and slurry. So looking at the build mode, we do have a ton of buildings that are tied to the buildings of Norway mod, and then we have several other things that are tied to the building itself. So here we have the buildings of Norway mod. So we have a big shed, garage. We come over here to our silos. We have a hay loft. Under tools, we have workshops. Then under the map itself, we have a charging station. We have several different farmhouse options, again tied to the buildings of Norway mod. Under production, nothing new under production, nothing under sell points, greenhouses, orchards, or generators. Under animals, we do have a few custom cow buildings that are again tied to the buildings of Norway mod. Nothing new under horses, pigs. We do have a few sheep areas, and this is the old sheep barn that also includes the silage production capability. Another sheep barn located right there. Nothing custom under chickens or bees or other. We take a look at our decorations. If I'm remembering right, we are pretty much standard there. We do have a couple kind of decorative buildings that we can put down. Then under landscaping, we have fairly standard Farm Sim 22 ground textures. But under plants, okay, we have a lot of custom plants that we can put down. So we have a meadow, which looks like this. Okay. Then we have small, dense grass. Then we have grass short. We have grass medium. We have grass long and dry. We have pink meadow flower. We have meadow weed. We have bush. Second bush. Some more shrubbery. And even more shrubbery. Let's go over here and check all of these out. Now, a lot of these look very similar to some Farm Sim 22 plants, but I think these have some additional shaders going on with them or something else. Those are the meadow weeds, meadow flowers, and we have our various stages of grass here. And with that, let's go ahead and get set up for our fly around. We'll start the fly around by going up and checking out the forestry area that we own. And then we'll run up and down the valley, just checking out all the various agricultural areas and the farms that are going to be available for purchase. Now, I have to say, one of the predominant things about this map is this large mountainous area. See, we've got a road going off in the distance with several switchbacks. For the amount of land that is forest, the trees aren't ultra dense, so the map should play fairly well for a lot of players. I loaded this map up with a 1070 Ti when I was just taking a look around, and overall the map played fairly good. I think I had frames mostly in the 50s when I was just kind of looking around. But down here we have our rigid track with our log trailer. Over here, kind of this clearing area. But when you get a little bit of altitude and you kind of get a sense of scale at how, see how wee little that tractor is way down there. You see the arable land down in the valley, and then you can see the big mountainous forest off in the distance. Another thing that is fairly common with this map is the view distance on the trees are set such that way off in the distance, you don't see the trees that are there, and as you kind of get closer to them, you will see those trees spawn in. So here we have our starting farm below, and what you're going to find at lots of these farms is a bit of area where you could possibly put down additional buildings. There might be more buildings to come in a later update, and that might be what is planned for some of these kind of clearing areas. But at any rate, there is definitely area around the farms for you to continue to expand. And speaking of expansion, yes, for the most part, every single thing that is on a farm, be it the starting farm or one of these other buyable farms, you will indeed be able to sell those buildings. So the farms are totally customizable for the most part. So we might find a few things here and there that are not customizable, but for the most part, they are. Here we have one of our player farms. We're going to take a look at this later during the drive around. And then this lovely river that's cutting through the valley. This map is full of views. I mean, even if you don't want to play the map, download the map and just drive around it. Experience the beauty that is this map. As you can see, the poles running through the fields do not have collisions because we're able to just fly right through them. So you won't have any issues with respect to these poles and hired help. They will just completely ignore those poles. And here we are coming up to a glorious waterfall. Water coming down from the mountain. In fact, if I weren't show you the starting farm and some of the map with the thumbnail, I might just show you this right here. Right? I mean, come on. Really. Map author is really taking advantage of the new flowing water plane. You can see it choking in here to go down through the culvert and then out the culvert. Really awesome. Really awesome what he has done here with respect to just the artistic focus of this map. Now let's talk about some of the scoring. Overall, the map includes 6 production points. We have a grain mill, a bakery, a sawmill, a sheep barn, which is really a fermenter for silage. The greenhouse, we do have a greenhouse, and we have a carpentry facility built into the map. There are several other areas that you could put additional production down should you so wish. With respect to being able to sell all of the base game products, crops, animal outputs, and such, we're going to give the map 3/4 of a point because of the fact that we can't sell sugar beets. We can sell sugar beet cut, but we can't sell sugar beets. We also can't do cotton, sugarcane, and fabric. So the fact that we have a few, not a lot, but a few fill types that we cannot sell, we're going to knock 1/4 of a point off there. Can the farms be customized? Yes, we're going to give the map a full point, but I will kind of flag that with an asterisk. And this is buyable. And if you buy this, this building right here is a farmhouse. But these 2 buildings that are under construction are permanent. They cannot be sold. Or I've tried and I haven't found the lucky click spot in order to click to sell those. This is, as best as I can tell, the only 2 buildings that are on any of the potential player farms that you cannot get rid of. So I mentioned that as a note to the map author. If you're watching this video, I would love to be able to sell these. That way we could really make full use of this area. But we also have kind of buildable areas over here to the left and to the right, just north of that area. We also have some more areas to the north. Lots of areas on this map for you to build out and do really whatever you should so wish. As we continue up to the north, we do have our production facility. This is going to be, I believe, the sawmill. The carpentry sawmill. We'll take a closer look at that during the drive round. We have our pallet spawn point, our log dump point there, our interactive trigger. We have a few areas, and I believe what these containers are representing are build zones. I didn't see if we could delete these containers. I really honestly didn't try that, but I believe that these are representing possible building sites. And I would be remiss if I did not show you this very, very intriguing church, which, according to Wikipedia, is one of the defining factors of this area in real life. We have a church that is basically Y-shaped. How this works inside, I don't really know. But it's very interesting architecture, and according to Wikipedia, that is very, very, very much a definitive defining factor to this particular area in real life. So now we are, as you can see, here to the north, just south of field 3, field 1, and then the map edge to the north. And we'll make our way back down the valley, this time on the western side of the river. These fields up here on the hill, they were the only fields on the western side of the map that had kind of silty clay or sandy loam soil type. Remember, everything down in the actual lower part of the valley was either loam or loamy sand. You can see off in the distance, we can see those trees spawning in there. Like I said, the view distance on the trees is not so great that we're trying to render trees all the way on the other side of 8 kilometers worth of land. And I have my view distances cranked up to basically the absolute max. So trees may spawn in sooner or later for you, depending on your visual settings. Got some potential build sites over here. As we continue to talk about our scoring metric, are the buildings where appropriate using the new texture technique? I believe that they are. So I believe all of the buildings that are in the Buildings of Norway building pack are, for the most part, using the new texturing technique. So we're going to go ahead and give the map a full point there. Let's go ahead and kind of climb up a little bit more. See the trees spawn in there. And again, overall, the trees are not ultra dense, right? We've seen forestry maps where the forest is ultra dense. This forest is not ultra dense at all. But given the land mass that we are talking about here, there are plenty of trees to deal with. Look at this one. This one's cool. It's got a broken top. A couple more up here that have broken tops. Super awesome. Super awesome. I haven't done a lot of... Oh, wait. We do have the mythical flying reindeer, but that is something that occurs a lot in Farm Sim 22. Not something that is unique to this map. Sorry, the flying reindeer are not native to Norway. So directly across in the valley, that is our starting farm. Then we have another viable farm down here. We actually have another one right there. We have 3 viable farms in view at the moment. One of our stone crushers located right there. Again, we can see the trees populating off in the distance. Road winding up. This would be an outstanding forestry map, I think, because you would have a pretty challenging time, an entertaining time bringing the logs down those switchbacks and then down into the valley and then eventually up to the carpentry facility way off at the north of the valley. Here we have the river's bend. Down below we have our animal dealer and our bakery. And then we have the bridge that was described in the description as being wider than the real bridge to facilitate wider vehicles crossing there. We have the vehicle shop off in the distance. Another possible player farm also just across the street from the vehicle shop. Then as we continue down the valley, we're going to have more possible building sites along the road. We're going to have more player farms down through here also. And then there is a sell point or 2 down at the extreme southwest of the valley. So I have to say, this is a really interesting spin on a map, that's for sure. Here we have what possibly could be 2 building sites or 1 building site. We got some trees, we got some gravel areas, but no buildings. So that may be kind of viable farms, hinting that you can put stuff down there. We have a sheep farm below. Kind of a arable farm right there. Yeah, we've almost made it all the way down to the end of the valley at this point. Lots of ambient bird sounds in the background. And then here we are down here at the sawmill. So the carpentry is at the extreme northwestern corner of the valley. The sawmill is at the extreme southeastern corner of the valley. So if you're going to be bringing your planks from sawmill to carpentry, you've got quite a long drive in store. So since this is the only thing down here, I'm just going to go ahead and show you this. Then we'll head back up to the vehicle shop. So we've got our wood cell trigger, we have our wood drop point, we have our pallet spawn point for our planks, we have our interactive trigger, and then we have our fill point for our wood chips. Now, as we kind of make our way back to the vehicle shop, I do want to come up here and kind of show you this mountainous area and kind of show you where we have that tree line. The separation, a very clear linear separation of trees and then no trees. So we've got some older growth. And we're coming up here to some newer growth. We've already come through here with our forestry and kind of cleared out this area. Now we've got some younger trees growing up here to the north, and then we come up and we get to a very clear line here where, for the most part, there aren't any more trees. And I don't know if this was intended by the map author to kind of be a real delineation area of altitude, like, okay, at this point no more trees are going to be found. We definitely have that type of thing in real life where if you are going up a mountain, eventually you get to the tree line and there are no trees beyond that point. Or if this was just a matter of he had to find some point where he just didn't add any more trees just for the sake of overall game performance. I didn't want to show you that. You can look down the valley now. You can look across the way, the other mountainside. For that, let's go ahead and make our way back to the vehicle shop. Back down here at the vehicle shop, this is where we all started. We have our vehicle trigger, or shop trigger. And let's go ahead and get our Mahindra. We've got a modest area here for our vehicles to spawn in at. I mean, given the size of the fields overall, I wouldn't say this is overly small. Given the size of the map, this area is definitely fairly small. We have our customized repair cell and trade repaint dealer trigger located right here. Then our markers indicating where that trigger is located, basically inside the building. And let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA. You're going to see that we now have a lot more icons showing up on the PDA because we have a player farm across the street. We have a few player farms down here to the south. We have a couple debris crushers to the south. And we have our sawmill further down to the south, but we ultimately have one player farm there. We've got our starting farm. We've got another farm. That's 3. We have 4. We had 5. There is 6. There is 7. This is the farmhouse with the buildings under construction. And then there are multiple other areas where you could potentially build and do some farming. So there are multiple possible farms available on the map. So we're going to come back to this farm here. Just going to make our way down the valley with our Mahindra. We've got some building zones. For possible farms, possible production. Let's go into an in-cab view. And looking across the valley. Big mountain off in the distance. You know when maps are big, they take a long time to drive around on. And a lot of the times, that is what players are looking for. Is they don't want to be just, you know, everywhere within moments. We want to have the sense of, yeah, this space, this large open area where we've got to really drive for a while before we ultimately get to our sell point, get to our destination. I mean, overall, we're not going at a super slow clip either. We're running at 51 miles an hour. Our stone crushers are just over there. We're going to go and kind of cross the river, I believe. A little bit further down here. There we have our bridge. I really don't feel like we need to venture up into the mountains at all. I think we've seen enough of that with the aerial tour. Like I said, we're going to kind of bypass the sawmill. Already kind of outlined where everything was there during the fly around. Over here on our left, we have, I've kind of dubbed the Arable farm simply because there are no animals at this particular farm, and it's one of the few farms where there are 0 animal pens. So here we have our sleep trigger and our wardrobe trigger at this house, as well as at that house. We have a really cool shed here. In order to get inside the shed, we gotta go through the people door, and then once we're inside the people door, we can open the big shed doors with a kind of a multi-action one door. The other door just opens up. Got a workshop trigger, and that is this farm. Located right here. Let's go ahead and find that. Take a look at our lands. That is going to be this area right here, including field 119 for $83,000. We also have another farm, which is going to be either tied to this area, which is going to be $18,000 or $228,000. I can't really tell from the from the icons, but that is located right over there. So let's go ahead and grab our Mahindra and venture over there. Here we've got one of those, as I mentioned, just areas where you feel like, is there supposed to be a building there? Is that missing something? I think it's coming in an update. Either an update to the Buildings of Norway mod or an update to the map, or possibly both. Now here we have multiple things going on. This is a sheep pasture, and up the upper side of the sheep pasture, inside of here is where the wool is going to spawn. So you're going to see your wool inside of here, I believe. Now that is somewhat of an educated guess, but I believe that's where you're going to find your wool. Here we have a hayloft. Okay, so this is a hayloft. Here we have a cow pasture. 125 cows. We have our dump station for our food and our straw. Here we have our milk. We have our maintenance trigger and our sleep trigger. So I was mistaken. There's we have another sleep trigger. There's another building here where I think we're going to find our wool up top. I think you're going to understand once we get around to all the farms that there are an absolute ton of viable farms on this map. All right, full throttle. Let's make our way back up to the bakery and the animal dealer. And that's where we're going to find the bridge to take us back across the way. Full throttle. There's a little guy down at the minimap. He's barely moving. We basically made it back to the shop. And the one-player farm that's across the street from the shop. This is the bridge that is approximately double the width of the real-life bridge. A rather large staging area there, maybe something you could put down, building zone. Here we have two things going on. First, we have the animal dealer sell point. Right here, we have our animal dealer itself, right there for our pins. And then we have our bakery. So we have our interactive icon. We have our dump point for the bakery located right here. And then our pallets are going to spawn right here. So this is where we're going to find our bread and our cakes. Right there. But our bakery unload point is over by the front door. Directly ahead and to our right is going to be the starting farm. We are going to divert to the left to the next possible player farm. We've got a sleep trigger. Multiple sleep triggers all over the place. And then this is just decorative. It looks like there's something in there. It looks like there's an interior, but we can't open the doors. This is just a decorative building. Another pseudo-arable farm where we have a decorative building, a decorative house, a farmhouse, and that is all that we have. Right here. To get across the river to the other playable farm, we're going to have to I think go all the way up to the north. So I don't think we have another bridge crossing for a little bit. Let's just double back and continue up the east side of the river. Then we have our starting farm to the right over here. This map gives even bigger sense of size because a lot of times we've got to drive a fairly good distance to be able to then cross the river just to double back, possibly if we're going to be interacting with other playable farms. There we have another player farm option. If we are in new farmer mode or start from scratch, got two sleep triggers. We've got kind of an old farmhouse and a newer farmhouse. Got some shed storage. We have a workshop trigger. Really awesome buildings that we have going on here. And then over here we have another cow barn. So we have our milk trigger. We have around the corner our slurry trigger. Sorry, this might be, yeah, I think these are cows. 50 cows in this building. There we have our food trigger. And then, interestingly enough, oddly enough, up here on the roof is the straw trigger. And again, like many of the animal pens on this map, We do not actually see any of the animals walking around. They're all inside of buildings. Very likely a result of the cold weather that this area will experience in the winter. I was checking out, again, out of the Wikipedia, I was checking out the average temperatures. And the average temperature in the summer gets up to a boiling 80-some degrees Fahrenheit. And in the winter, well, it's a chilly, chilly -20-ish on average. I mean, the summer had a low of 28 or something. So, I mean, if you can have freeze, you know, if you can freeze warnings in the middle of your summer, right? Here we have that. Here's that waterfall. Just take a look, man. Oh my gosh. Let's get this map out and go hiking. Ride a horse. This would be a really interesting map to hold back for phase 4 of the forestry expansion. What do y'all think about that? Here we have another possible player farm area. Again, these under construction buildings are permanent, at least as best as I can tell, but we can sell the farmhouse if you want to do something else with this area. Here we have one of our sell points. One of our grain of sell points. It's right there, Joker. Let's go do our carpentry. We have our log dump, we have our wood sell point, we have our pallet point for our furniture, and then we have our interactive trigger right there. We do have a fuel tank, I believe, up there. Go past the iconic Rennebu church, a Y-shaped church. I think this is more intended to be a person bridge, but we are narrow enough to take it, so we will. I mean, come on. Look at all this awesomeness. Awesomeness. Unique assets, unique buildings. Right? There's not a standard FS22 building on this map. Now we can make our way down the valley on the west side to get to the last few player farms. With respect to triggers and interactive areas being clearly marked, we're going to give the map a half a point. And the reason we're going to give the map a half a point is the production, the bakery doesn't have the hash marks. The sheep areas are not really marking where the pallets are going to spawn at. And there's a couple other things really with respect to being able to really know where things are going to go exactly. So we are going to knock back a half a point. But overall, this map is going to score very well at 4.25 out of 5. Given the fact that we have all unique buildings on this map, all part of a building pack that we can also download and use on other maps, should we so wish, is really cool. Really interesting testament to the customization and modularity of this map and its building pack. So let's go ahead and visit this farm over here. So here we have another cow area. 80 cows in this particular building. We have our slurry point. And in the upper section, got some storage. We have our milk point. And we have our food trough. And some more storage. Oh, look at that. We have our farmhouse with our sleep trigger. And then here we have our grain mill. Okay, so we have our interactive trigger. We have our dump point for our grain. And we have a charging station. Nice. And you may say to yourself, well, where do our pallets spawn at? Huh? Where do our pallets spawn at? You might wonder, I don't know, where our pallets might spawn. Where do you think? Those are decorative. Well, our flour actually spawns right here. At the bottom of our grain mill. That's right, our pallets spawn inside at the lower level of the grain mill. Isn't that kind of neat? And the last player farm is going to be right over here. This is where the greenhouse is going to be located. So we're calling it just a standard base game FS22 greenhouse. We don't need to go into a whole lot of detail there. We have a sleep trigger, a wardrobe trigger. Now this is a hayloft. So this is going to be our dump station to add hay and straw into our hayloft. Then around the corner, we have our output pipe for the hayloft. Then we have our cow barn. We have our food trough for our cow barn. We have our milk trigger for our cow barn. Slurry point. And then our animal buy point for our cows. 60 cows in this particular facility. And guys, that is it. Wow, let's do a rundown and just check our animal areas now that we've bought all of those. Make sure we didn't skip any. I don't think we skipped any animals or any of the actual player farms, but you never know. Let's just cut this part out. So we've got our HOL cow barn, our Bruholt cow barn, our Bergton cow barn, our Bergton sheep, our Hobbit. Yeah, okay, we've got that cow barn. So we did miss the Avar sheep barn. Okay, so let's go back here and try to find that. Here we have our sheep. Oh, we looked at this, but I didn't actually buy anything. Okay. So then we have 200 sheep in this facility. And this is the facility that is right across the street from the shop. Then we have our dump station. And then this is where, sorry, I knew we had a sheep pen. This is where I think our wool is going to spawn, up here at the top. Okay. So there we go. Sleep trigger, then we've got some storage. Then like I said, right across the street, we have our vehicle shop. So guys, let me know down in the comments below, what do you all think of Rennebu? Or I hope I'm not super butchering that, but then again, you never know, because Google Translate is sometimes not the most reliable. A 16x map, 8 kilometers east-west, 8 kilometers north-south. Can fit 16 standard maps within this particular map's border. Now, a big chunk of the map itself is not necessarily farmable. A big chunk of this map does not actually have a whole lot of forestry on it, but the parts that do are going to be much, much more spacious than you are used to with respect to a standard size map. And until next time, happy farming.